Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, gamers. So, apparently Ridwan obviously thinks we are all gamers, and he had the need to call us out, saying that we are an Islamist Discord server, despite the fact that he doesn't want to face the reality that not everyone watching these videos is from Discord. Anyways, my fellow gamers, I want to gamingly engage into this gamer video and start a gaming refutation of AP. I hope you will enjoy, inshallah.
Multiple hadith tell the story of people from a different tribe who came and embraced Islam, but because they were from a different place, they had complications with the weather and the climate. So Mohammed gave them the advice to drink camel milk and camel urine. The hadith tell further that the people took the advice and drank the camel urine and became healthier. It worked. It also says that they turned renegades afterwards and killed some camels, whereafter Muhammad ordered their death by cutting off their hands and feet, branding their eyes with hot iron, and letting them bleed to death. Maybe they became so aggressive because of the camel urine. Who knows? What we see here is that Muhammad definitely used resources like iron in a very resourceful way. Anyway, therefore, scholars still claim that it is absolutely healthy and fine to drink camel urine, because Muhammad said so. Because seriously, how could a sandman in the 7th century have known this? Of course, most religious Muslims take Islamic advices over professional and trustworthy advices. As we all can guess, people who know what they are talking about strictly advise against drinking any form of urine.
So before we get into discussing how drinking camel urine is of much more benefit to you than watching a single video by Zitzking Ridwan, allow me to show you how he deceptively does not mention that the people who were punished with such a method did a similar thing to the shepherd that they killed before they even drove off the camels. Ridwan also quotes only a part of the hadith instead of the whole hadith in its entirety, making it seem as if the Prophet ﷺ was harshly punishing people who only stole a bunch of camels. The hadiths displayed on the screen are sufficient evidence against Ridwan's deceptive and lacking claim. I think it is safe to conclude that a regular drinker of camel piss is much more sophisticated than the young bootlicker of Israeli propaganda himself. Now, as for the practice of drinking camel urine, it is no surprise that Ridwan refutes himself again. Several points should be made here. First of all, the camel urine healed the people who were sick. Therefore, it was effective advice that worked. Second of all, the Prophet ﷺ medical advice is not divine revelation as explained by Sunni scholars. Thirdly, urine can contain certain types of medical benefit. For example, the urine of a mare is used for making primarin, a medicine that is used for hormone replacement therapy, which is related to problems with a woman's menopause. Due to the nature of changing environments, what might be medically effective in one place or period of time might not be later on. When conditions of a nation or community change, much of scientific knowledge is derived inductively and based on the observation of the present reality before us, which is susceptible to change, and new discoveries that can undermine or improve previous theories and conclusions. So, in regards to the urine, all of this can be summed up by saying, the urine helped the diseased people, but that does not mean that the Prophet's ﷺ medical advice is infallible. Our conditions always change, and consequently so do our methods of survival.
In a hadith that you should probably not follow, Muhammad gives another advice, which goes as follows. If a housefly falls in the drink of any one of you, he should dip it into the drink and take it out, for one of its wings has a disease, and the other has the cure for that disease. Now this is maybe surprising to some of you, but I have actually never seen anyone who really followed this practice. But if you make a quick Google search, you can see that insane numbers of Muslims try to prove that this is good by saying that science confirms it, and they add that this is a miracle. Because how could a sandman in the 7th century have known this? As you can guess, there is no actual proof. I feel stupid for even going into this. They give you sources of ongoing studies. Not even finished ones. Ongoing studies. Saying that some flies, not even the ones in Arabia, might have some antibacterial substances on their wings and their bodies. that might be extracted and combined with other substances in order to create antibiotics for specific diseases. Now, what that doesn't mean is that dunking a fly completely into your soup makes you in any way healthy. That is known for being poisonous and dangerous because you expose yourself more and more to all the dangers that the fly brings, and flies are disgusting and they spread diseases. The study also says that both wings carry those specifications and that the bodies carry that too, but that also contradicts heavily with what Mohammed says, because Mohammed says that one wing is good and the other wing is bad. But let's just ignore that part.
The hadith explains how the dipping of a fly is not for the purpose of being cured, but rather to prevent disease that the fly carries. One wing contains a disease and another contains the cure for it. The Prophet ﷺ advised his companions to dip the fly in so that the cure for the disease can be effective. He was not saying that you should dip flies into your drink so that you have a better diet or something like that. Whether this is the nature of flies in Arabia nowadays might be different, as different conditions result into different natural occurrences. One thing is for sure, flies do contain a type of bacteria that can be used for making antibiotics. So to assume that flies under certain conditions have a type of nature where they contain a disease and a cure for that disease is not a far stretch. Besides, the hadith doesn't say that there isn't any other type of potential for disease being present in the fly. It just says that there's a disease that the fly carries, which is healed from a cure that the fly carries as well. Other diseases could be present. I think it is rational to assume that the Prophet ﷺ was giving advice as to what to do if a fly falls into one's drink and a person wishes to continue using that drink. And that wouldn't be surprising considering the dangerous nature of an Arabian desert where water is not abundant. And again, I wish to emphasize that it is perfectly fine to assume that it was possible that flies back then were of such nature. They might have changed due to a different natural environment that changed over time, and that's perfectly fine.
Now let's come to the next topic through a hadith, a brilliant, enlightening hadith. Water is for water. How could a sandman in the Wait, what? Water is for... What the hell does it even mean?
Water is for water. That is, water for performing ghusl is obligatory when the ejaculation of water, i.e. semen, occurs. So what is being said here is that when you ejaculate, you're meant to wash yourself. It's really simple as that.
Black cumin. In this hadith, Muhammad says that black cumin cures all diseases except death. Very weird wording. It's true and known that black cumin is very healthy, which is not surprising because that fact was known thousands of years before Muhammad. It's mentioned in the Old Testament, among Egyptian texts, and many other sources. What makes Muhammad's claim different is that Muhammad claims that it cures all diseases. So if you know a person who has AIDS, arthritis, rabies, or any other incurable disease, just give them black cumin every day. What happens next will shock you.
The Prophet ﷺ actually, according to other hadiths, worded it differently, saying that the healing is found in the black cumin seed, and not that the whole seed itself is a cure. Another interesting thing to point out is that had it been the case that black cumin in on its own was able to heal everything, then the Prophet ﷺ would have not given advice of camel urine to the Bedouins in the first place. This proves that what is being done here is either hyperbole, that the Prophet ﷺ is overpraising the black cumin and is not saying that it is a healing for all diseases literally, or that the seed within it contains potential for healing all diseases, but that simply consuming the seed won't necessarily cure everything except death. Perhaps a combination with other ingredients is required.
Satan at childbirth. In a hadith, Muhammad said that every baby born to a human is touched by Satan at birth. And that's the reason why babies cry when they are born. Muhammad says that yawning is from Satan.
Regardless of what type of belief in causality you have, none of this contradicts observable nature. If you believe in natural causes, this hadith is not denying that there is no preceding cause to the crying of a baby that would be external to Satan's influence. The simplest way to answer this is to say that just because Satan might be the apparent cause of crying, that does not mean that there aren't other apparent physical causes, like natural processes, that precede a cry. A more detailed response is given by prominent Islamic scholar Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah in the 14th century, who explained this type of metaphysics. There might be physical realities that precede certain events, but there's also metaphysical realities that precede them as well. And to claim that one of these is the exclusive cause of the effect is fallacious, that actually both of these things precede certain events.